Good morning, and thanks everybody for coming. My name is Evan Leibovich, and I'm one of the people who has been involved with the formation of what we're here to announce today, which is the Canada chapter of the Internet Society. This has been a long time coming, and we're really, really happy and proud to be here and to have seen this through. We're doing this because Internet end users in Canada need a voice in the dialogue that's coming up about many different things to do with Internet evolution and Internet governance within Canada and around the world. We do this by becoming part of an international organization that's been around for 20 years or so, has been a custodian of international standards bodies, and a participant in policy on many different issues about the Internet. I'll keep my own remarks to a minimum. We've got a number of people at the table here, but I just want to, first of all, introduce them. To my left is Glenn McKnight, my partner in crime here, who's been involved with me from the beginning in making this happen. Walda Roseman, who is the COO of the Internet Society International, who we're very happy to have here. Next to her is Louis Houle, the president of the existing ISOC chapter in Canada, ISOC Quebec, who is happy to come here, and without whose support we could not have done this. And at the end of the table is Byron Holland, who is the president of the .ca registry, CIRA. So anytime that you know anybody that has a .ca domain, he's in charge of making it work. In addition to these folks, I really want to give some thanks to a couple of people. First off, the people that have helped sponsor this event, which is the CG Center in Waterloo. Fred and the gang have been extremely helpful in making this work. Two other people who've been involved with us in the initial organizing group have been Gary Kenward and Kerry Brown, who have helped extend our reach to Halifax and BC. Paul Brigner and Ted Moody from ISOC, who have been involved in chapter development. They've been extremely helpful in making this happen. And essentially all of the ISOC community. We met them last week at the ICANN meeting in Beijing, and it was an extremely warm welcome when it was announced that we are doing this. And we're really, really pleased to be here. And so what I'll do is, and one unexpected pleasure here is the chair of ICANN, Steve Crocker, is with us here. He didn't expect to be, so so thanks for showing up. He, like us, was in Beijing only a couple of days ago, so hopefully our heads are clear enough to be able to talk to you, take any questions, and I'll leave the rest. Glenn?
Hi, I'm Glenn McKnight, and it's my pleasure. I'm the interim vice president of the Internet Society Canada chapter. A number of things I'd like to help you understand ISOC in terms of our history. It's been about a roughly 9-month process for us to go through the process of due diligence, and it's through the direct help of the numerous people that Evan mentioned that made it possible. And the one person that he forgot to mention is Sabrina Wilmot. She's the chapter helper based out of Europe, and she was quite helpful in the application process. And it's as we are now official, we have a number of things now to do. The work is really starting. We do have bylaws, but they will be refined over time and enshrined. We have, within the next 6 months to a year, we will have official elections. Apparently, We have over 1,000 Canadians that have joined ISOC, and those will be, after today, after our launch, will be appealed to ask them to actually assign which chapter they would like to be assigned to. Each day we have Canadians and equal number of non-Canadians asking to join us. It's really nice to have so many people from our planet asking to join us. In the next while, one of the big jobs we'll be doing is determining how we're going to roll out ISOC and have an impact on the issues. And behind us on the board, we have identified a number of issues that were clear, and Evan did an incredible survey a few weeks ago, and some of the issues that were very pertinent to Canadians was Canadian issues, not just global issues, but the Canadian issues that are the three on the board here: access, net neutrality, and open standards are really at the core of what a lot of Canadians are interested in. And we're so proud to have great supporters like CG who've stepped forward and helped us, especially with this launch today. And we're looking at having a great partnership with them in the future. Also, Sarah has been incredibly supportive. Carrie Brown, right from the very beginning, who's a board member with Sarah, has absolutely been right behind us 100% of the way, as many of the board members I recall. We must have met a gang of them. We were in ICANN Toronto back in October, November, and I noticed Byron was walking down the hall, and he did a double take because he looked back and he saw a group of all his board members with Evan and I, and he thought it was a coup. And we said, no, it's okay. Well, you know, how do Canadians get involved? Well, it's a free membership. Just go to the Internet Society's website. That's isoc.org. Join as a member. If you're not a member already, you can select what chapter you'd like to belong to. We hope to have, in this year, we're kicking it off with in collaboration on the Internet Forum that is being held by CG. We'll be attending actually it's two this year, right, Byron? CIF, the Canadian Internet Forum, will be in Montreal later this fall. We hope to be doing 2 sessions with Aaron, and it's Aaron on the road, one in Toronto, one in Halifax, and we're open to any suggestions. The idea is to educate Canadians on the issues that are very close to their heart. And that's it, Evan, for me.
Great. Okay, thanks. Walda, it's your turn.
Thank you. Is there any trick to this microphone?
No, it's not a conference thing. It's
Everybody
always
can
on.
hear. Well, I'm delighted to be here. I want to thank my chauffeur, Steve Crocker, and friend. We were having breakfast this morning talking about, we were probably going to get around to talking about Beijing when he said, "Where is this?" And I said, "Well, I assume it's here. I'm out in Waterloo." And it turned out it wasn't. It's here. And so we had quite an adventure getting here this morning, and thank you for the company and being a support. He, by the way, did a radio interview on his way to here, so it's been a fun morning. I'm here because I'm really excited about the Canada chapter. I am a neighbor, as you might guess, of Canada, and I actually had direct descendants from Toronto. So this is a home of mine of sorts. In fact, Glenn has said he'll help me find where my great-great-grandparents are buried. But that's not the biggest reason. The biggest reason is that Canada has been a force in the internet, and it has been a force, a very positive force in what we call internet governance and the internet model, and that is ensuring that the internet continues to be a decentralized, multi-stakeholder entity where no one, and I will borrow from Steve's interview this morning, where no one organization, whether it's government or otherwise, controls it. The Internet Society is unique in that it is an advocate of an open, global, accessible internet. We advocate on behalf of the internet and on behalf of the benefits that the internet can bring to users around the world. Our chapters are critical to our achieving that mission. Our chapters are the roots that are put down in the countries of the world, in the local areas, the ones that nourish the understanding and the influencers of the internet, be they government, industry, civil society, users, young people, older people, it matters not. But it's important to all of us, we believe, that this internet continues to be open and available to all of us. It also nourishes, the chapters nourish our views as a global organization. We have been in existence for 21 years. We started out as a U.S. entity. We're now an international entity, fully localized through our chapters, through our regional offices, through our members. But that localization and relevance only works if we have active chapters. So before I congratulate formally, and I'm certainly open to questions, I don't want to monopolize the time here, but before I formally congratulate on behalf of the Internet Society, the Canada chapter, I want to also thank the Quebec chapter that has been holding the flag of the Internet and the Internet Society for many years. We're delighted that the Canada chapter is supported by ISOC Quebec, and that the Canada chapter is leading a charge for more and more involvement here in Canada. I also want to convey the very best wishes and warmest congratulations from our CEO, Lynn St. Amour, who was unable to be here, but she's here in spirit, I promise you that. And certainly from all of the ISOC, or Internet community. Thank you, and congratulations, and we are here to help.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And Louis, you have the mic next.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
So now we'll switch to French. I promise in a few minutes. But I'm very glad to be here today. At last, we have an ISOC Canada chapter. It's been a lot of work, a lot of discussions, a lot of projects in the past who didn't survive, a lot of persons who came to ISOC Quebec asking for support to create a chapter in Toronto, Vancouver, Canada. Didn't work because they were not sticking to the mission of ISOC. They were not following the multi-stakeholder model. They couldn't defend the interest of the people they pretended they would defend. So this is why it simply didn't work. Now, I met a few persons years ago, started in 2009, and it took all that time to create a chapter. It takes time. It took time for ISOC to have success as it has right now. It takes a lot of energy. And guys, I promise you will need a lot of energy. I've been at ISOC Quebec since the beginning, 2000, or younger, and 12 years only. And it's somehow very demanding because you have to defend a mission where actually you have nothing to sell. You have a mission to promote. You have a way of doing things. You have to defend the interest of all groups within a society. You have to defend the interests of those who need accessibility, disabled persons, people who don't have any bandwidth in their region. You have to defend people who are unhappy about policies from their government. You have to defend the interests of all groups within your community. You have to promote the mission of the Internet and defend the interests of all groups in your community. And this is what ISOC Canada will be doing with success, I'm sure. Welcome, ISOC Canada.
Thank you. And finally, Byron.
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, I just want to say congratulations to you guys. I know it's been a long, challenging journey, and this is a great day for both of you and for the broader team who have made ISOC Canada really come together. So first and foremost, congratulations, and thank you very much to ISOC Quebec for being a strong supporter of this goal, and of course, ISOC itself for helping get us here. As CIRA, which is a Canadian Internet Registration Authority, as one of the actors in the both Canadian and global internet ecosystem, we're the folks who operate .ca. We're also very involved in internet governance, both at home and abroad. And one of the things, that is incredibly apparent to us is the power that the internet can bring to all communities. And we just heard Louis remind us of how many communities can benefit from the internet. A free and open internet is something that CIRA strongly believes in and supports, and we occupy a segment of the internet ecosystem, really around the technology of it and delivering .ca to Canadians at home and abroad, as well as within internet governance. But that really is just a sliver of what the internet can bring to all of us in Canada and beyond. And the one thing we really realize is how many different actors must participate in the internet for it to work effectively, to deliver on its promise. And that's why we are so pleased to have another very important actor within the Canadian internet ecosystem, and that's ISOC Canada. We certainly stand ready to be a supportive member of this chapter. We operate our own events like the Canadian Internet Forum and look forward to you participating in those as we look forward to participating with ISOC Canada and ISOC Quebec. So we are very, very pleased to have another very important actor in the Canadian internet ecosystem. Congratulations and welcome.
Thanks very much, Brian. What was mentioned on the whiteboard up there of the three internet issues, access, net neutrality, and open standards, those are actually the top three issues that were identified by an initial survey that we took of membership. Those are the things that the members so far have said that we need to advocate in Canada, in Ottawa, and at the provincial level where applicable. The main three things that people would like the Internet Society to be involved with are advocacy, public education, and virtual meetings to enable the community to get to meet each other. And on that note, we're open for Q&A. So if you've got any questions from anyone at the panel, please identify yourself and fire away.
Hi, my name's Jim Mercer. I'm kind of new to the internet. I've only been using it for 25 years. I haven't dug that deeply into the Internet Society, but I was wondering what the funding model is for the Canadian chapter.
As of right now, none. We have, again, we've surveyed the members to find out what they're interested in doing. As more ISOC members associate themselves with the Canada chapter, and we continue to survey them and find out what they want, we'll get a better handle on the funding model. So far, what we found people are interested in, people are not scared of member dues. Right now, people do not pay to be members of the Internet Society and then associate themselves with the Canada chapter. The people who have identified funding models essentially are okay with a nominal membership fee and have encouraged us to go and find corporate and organizational partners such as CIRA and others who will help us along. So right now, that is what we have in mind. As the results of our survey change, so might our intentions, but right now that's what we're looking at. Glenn, anything?
Yeah, I think Evan says it correctly. I personally, my opinion is not to charge for membership, but to choose rather sponsorship model. But again, we're a democratic organization, and we want to appeal to people what they feel. Now, some chapters charge membership, right? Nominal amounts, and each chapter decides on what models works best for them. But the funds that we would raise, we are because we're going to go for national sponsorship, we'll be sharing it with ISOC Quebec. That's part of it. We want, and if other chapters come along in Canada, we want to encourage them as well. We're not the only chapter in Canada. We'd love to have chapters all through Canada. The funds would go. That's the most important thing, is where would we spend the money? And it would be going to conferences and education, digital literacy projects. So the money will be reinvested back into the education and helping Canadians understand the role and function. Thanks.
Okay, I have there, and then, okay, we got you next. Go ahead.
Don't go ahead.
Good morning. I work with a global organization, an open source organization, and one of the things that is really key, I think, to having ISOC work well is a youth engagement strategy. The average age in the world is 27, Canada a little bit higher, but I think just looking around the room, I think we have some work to do in terms of how do we bring the youth engagement plan into it. So what kind of strategy have you started around that?
I'd say right now we're too new to have even figured this out. Right now, we're going to be as good as our members are. We're going to have ideas as good as our members have. As a democratic body, we're here, we're leading this, but essentially our goal is to be responsive to the membership. Youth engagement is one of the things we need to do. Public engagement on the whole, digital literacy. It's not enough anymore simply to have access. And so awareness of things like privacy issues and that kind of thing are important to everybody. In terms of a specific youth engagement program, again, we're going to be as good as our community. There's only so much two of us can do. This is going to be up to the membership. Again, in the survey, we found a lot of talent within our group of people that have a very diverse set of talents and skills, and we plan to put them to use. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to just to say a few words about that. Clearly, the future of the internet lies in with the young people. In fact, right now, the present of the internet increasingly lies with the young people. The Internet Society tries not to cast its chapters adrift on major issues. Certainly the local funding model is up to them, although there are some areas where we are able to be helpful, particularly as chapters start up. But we have at ISOC, at the Internet Society, an Internet leadership program. It has been fairly focused so far on a select number of young professionals, particularly in the technical area and now in the public policy area, that apply for and get to participate in various conferences and in training, particularly from developing countries. However, that's not enough. We recognize it's not nearly enough. So we are putting in place what right now is called a learning engagement program. We are in the process of branding it so that it's a bit more understandable, but by which we can provide outreach through our chapters, with university partners, with many others, to young people who are future influencers of the internet. So when we hear, as we do increasingly, what about the young people, it reinforces our view of this is very important. I just wanted to note too that ISOC Quebec, the ISOC Canada chapter, are part of a much larger community of chapters too. Right now we have 94 chapters around the world, and many of them are successfully reaching out to young people. One of them that is a good model for many of the chapters, it may be a model in part for the Canada chapter, is Senegal. Yes, that's right. So this is an area where it's certainly up to the local chapters what you want to do, but it's one where there is a larger effort that's being developed here.
Byron?
Sure, maybe I just want to add a comment on this, because as an organization that's deeply involved in and around the internet governance space and has, in a sense, a public mandate to deliver the service that we do, it's a service for all Canadians of all ages, of all demographics. And one of our challenges, of course, is how do you reach out to them all? How do you touch them all? How do you get them engaged? And it's an ongoing challenge. There's no silver bullet that we've yet found, and if you know of one, I'd be happy to hear about it. But two of the things that I'd mention are sort of practical, pragmatic ones, which are the channels that you try to speak to them in. So, and I don't even want to use them because it's a very broad group, but the actual channels that we use, be it Twitter or Facebook or other ways to communicate and interact with any given demographic, youth being a key one, will be critical. We have to go to their channel of choice. And the other thing is topical subjects that they're engaged in. Internet governance, while I find it fascinating and important, can be somewhat esoteric and not necessarily a key catalyst to get youth involved. For some it may be, but there are other critical issues, online issues, digital literacy issues that will be top of mind for youth. So how do we speak to them on those critical issues? So find the right channel and talk about the topical messages. That's two ways just to pragmatically engage youth.
Okay.
If I may add, practically, we have some experience on different projects since 2000. And Byron's right. I mean, if you don't attract your member, you will lose it. And the young people are, for instance, very much involved in open source software. So if you can't offer them services around open source, they will vanish, they will disappear, they will find something else, they will find another organization, they will find another project. If you are talking about youth, for instance, we've been running a study that ended up with a recommendation to the Quebec government. We thought that we could use ICRA, Internet Content Rating Association's mapping of websites to just inform parents and the young people what information you will find on a website, on that typical website. Is it a website for young children or not? And we've been very successful in that project, except that the government didn't follow. So we finished that study, period. See, so it's always difficult to have the support of organizations in many fields regarding the younger ones in our society. We take for granted that they can use the internet a lot better than we do. Yes, but maybe that they need some education too. And this part is left to others, maybe schools, and it's not always the right answer.
Thanks. I have a question over there.
So I'm glad that she had gone first because my question was very, very similar to that. And yes, I know, you and I know each other very well. So on that note, the responses that that we've received based upon that question are very enlightening and very encouraging. Admittedly, as one of the group organizers here in Toronto of a developer group and a developer community, Toronto is probably one of the world's leaders for developer communities, specifically in North America, ranked I think either 3rd or 5th. I think the question was going to be originally, do you have plans on interacting and engaging with some of the developer groups here in Toronto? But I think based upon, obviously, what we've heard so far, you're looking to do that, you're wanting to do that. So I think this is more of a statement of developer communities would absolutely love to get involved and work with you wholeheartedly to make sure that Canadians are educated, both those that are new to the internet and those that have been using it for the 25 years. And those that help organize things. So it's pretty much a call to action. Please come to us. We're very willing.
I welcome the invitation and will gladly take you up on it. Glenn and I, we got our starts within the user group community here. As a matter of fact, there's some people here from the Toronto local community that I've known for the better part of, 15 odd years, maybe more. That I'm delighted to have here with us. There's active user groups of all kinds here. I've been involved with a small fraction of them, and but not just Toronto. This is a national organization, so of course it's going to be critical to us to engage the community coast to coast. But having said that, yes, there's a huge developer community in Toronto. There's a massive gaming community elsewhere in Canada. We want to engage that, but also I want to make sure that our focus is going to be on internet end users and what their needs are, both in terms of advocacy and education and collaboration. Reaching out to other groups is going to be a part and parcel of what we do. It's core to it. This is a community body. We work with other communities.
If I can just add very quickly, we just found out from IEEE Canada Foundation that they're going to support a project that we've been working on with myself and my wife's project called WOM. It's called DIY for Girls, and we're going to work with HackerTO, the workshop in Kensington, and it's for 40 girls to expose them to the basics of Arduino, Raspberry Pi, wearable computing. So it'll be a free workshop. So again, we're going right down to 10 years old to 16-year-olds for this. And IEEE is a great organization to partner with. So we're happy to do that.
Thanks. Fred.
So Fred Kunz with CG, and my question is about global threats to internet access, because if you live in Toronto or Vancouver, the internet appears to be open and accessible, aside from maybe high cable rates. But we know that dictatorships in the world do censor the internet, and we've seen how in the Arab Spring countries like Egypt can shut down the internet, or in Syria in the civil war, the internet can be shut down. What does that mean to Canadians, and what is the role of the Internet Society or of Canada or Canadians to advocate in those issues?
Well, first and foremost, we have the benefit here of working with the Internet Society internationally on this. ISOC had a presence at the WCIT conference recently in Dubai, and it had a presence overseeing what was going on there. So it's a big responsibility to keep up with what's going on with the shifting global realities of who's collaborating with who's censoring, who's open. Just keeping up with that, it seems, is a full-time job for some. This is the effect on Canadians. Essentially, is a matter of access. If Canadians operate websites that are blocked by various other countries, that's a concern, and vice versa. However, I would also mention that, again, going back to the survey, most of our users right now within ISOC Canada have expressed almost overwhelmingly, at least initially, a concentration on national issues. That is, advocating for internet users in Ottawa and at the provincial capitals where appropriate. That's right now, it seems, is the focus, and our partnership with ISOC International allows us to pass back and forth information, awareness, policy, and education on a global basis. This is the benefit of working with ISOC, in that we've got a global presence, but we're able to act locally as well. feed information to them of what's important in Canada and to Canadians, and likewise get information back. Alda, did you want to add anything to that?
Thank you. First of all, let me support what Glenn has said. We have had and we do have a very active global program working with mostly intergovernmental organizations and trying to remind them that they would be more effective if they were multi-stakeholder organizations. But fundamentally, what we have been doing is trying to provide a platform for understanding what the internet is and how it works and how it can be broken, what the impact would be on any one country if in fact commerce were stopped at the boundaries of a particular country or countries, particularly major market countries, like the one many of us have just come from. A key role that Canada, the Canada chapter can play, the Quebec chapter can play, is to be also an interface with the Canadian government on these issues. Now, Glenn has mentioned that there would be, pardon me? Excuse me, Evan, I'm sorry, Evan. Evan has mentioned that relationship with what's going on with the Canadian government is important. The Canadian government has been a very important and effective advocate on the global level for an open internet. Nevertheless, it gives greater weight to the positions it takes if it believes that the Canadian internet community supports what they're doing, is able to give them background and information on how certain things work and how they're not working. So I could see if, in fact, that's what the members of the Canada chapter choose to do, this chapter being a very significant player at the global level through those who represent this country at the global level.
Thanks. Yes.
Evan Gordon Smith from CG. I would like to ask you just to follow up a little bit on what you said about the concerns about access and the focus of the Canadians that you've been in touch with, looking at the three issues, but primarily from a Canadian point of view, including representation in Ottawa. When you talk about access, what about First Nations? Have you heard anything from First Nations in terms of wanting access? Have you heard others who think that greater access for First Nations might promote economic development and a whole variety of other things?
First Nations is one of the priorities. We've also found, though, that there's significant parts of Canada that do not have significant high speed, that do not have the same kind of internet access as you know, in the inner cities and so on. Amongst First Nations, also in the far north, there are a number of issues of access going on. Sometimes also what access means to other people has to do sort of with net neutrality, in the sense now that we've got in Canada, the media companies and the ISPs are now sort of all assembling into camps. So you have ISPs that are owning various media properties, and there's a concern so this is where it's sort of access and net neutrality sort of go together, in that, you know, if you're signed up to one ISP, or you're going to get equal access to other media. But to go specifically to the point of First Nations, that's already been raised by some of our members who have a specific interest in this. One of the things that we have an eager interest to do is to get involved with sub-communities, that is, bring together people from across the country that have common interests in this, and you know, enable them to be able to do the kind of advocacy and to do the kind of research that we need. Part of the challenge is, in Canada, coast to coast, we're a fairly small country spread out over a fairly wide range, And so that ends up being a challenge, and putting people together ends up being one of the functions people have asked for the most. That is, bringing together of like minds, like interests, to be able to promote that kind of thing. So there's a number of different subgroups that have different interests, and like I mentioned before, in any group like this, we're as good as our volunteers, we're as good as our community. Thanks.
If I may add just a few words on that. We are facing excess problems. In Quebec, for instance, there is 83% of the population last year were accessing internet. The problem is that when you get in regions, it's a totally different picture. For instance, we created in 2007 Connect Quebec, which means, in other words, high-speed internet everywhere it's not available. And we've been promoting some projects with the regions. It is very difficult to work with the communities in regions. They don't know about the internet. They don't have any technological staff to work on that. They don't know how it works. They don't know how to promote it. They don't know how to manage it. And it's the same story, for instance, with the First Nation that we have been serving in Lac-Saguet in Mont-Laurier region. They, as far as I'm concerned, can be compared to any other Canadian citizen. They just want to have high-speed internet, period. And that's it, that's all. So if you can offer it, they will take it. Should they manage it or pay it differently, it's another issue. But the needs are there for education, for health, for anything that you can use the internet for. And high-speed internet is not available, not the type of high-speed internet. So it's quite a challenge for ISOC Canada, and it's been a challenge for us in ISOC Quebec in Quebec. This is why we created Connect Quebec. But we have a long way to go.
Anybody? Okay. I guess with that, I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank those of you that have wished us well in this. If you have any follow-up questions, the website for us is internetsociety.ca. The email for that would be info@internetsociety.ca. We've established a presence on Twitter, on Google+, on LinkedIn, and there's this thing called Facebook. I'm told we should be there too. With a little bit of effort, Glenn?
Yeah, I would like to acknowledge ICANN. Steve Crocker is here as well, but we were fortunate being, both Evan and I are active members with numerous committees with ICANN, and one of the huge benefits we had is the opportunity to attend ISOC meetings at the various ICANN events, and I definitely like to thank ICANN for the opportunity. And for those who do not know, Steve Crocker is with the Internet Hall of Fame.
Anyway, on that, again, thank you for coming, and I guess this webinar and this conference is over.